There is one question that has the power to change your entire life. What would happen if, starting today, you stopped explaining yourself? Imagine an ordinary morning. You pick up your phone and see a message. "I've heard you've changed a lot lately." You read it over and over again. Then you start thinking about how you should respond. You write a long message. You explain why you've been busy, why you haven't been seeing people as often, why you turned down that invitation, why you've chosen a different path. You read it again. You edit every sentence. You delete it. Then you write it all over again. All because you hope the other person will understand you a little better. But what happens in the end? Maybe they still don't understand. Maybe they simply skim through your message. Maybe they had already decided who you were before they even received it. And just like that, you've spent nearly an hour trying to change a thought that was never within your control. This isn't a rare story. Millions of people live this way every single day. They explain why they left their job. They explain why they ended a relationship. They explain why they no longer want to please everyone. Some even feel guilty for simply saying no. They believe that if they explain themselves clearly enough, people will sympathize. If they are sincere enough, people will understand. If they are patient enough, every misunderstanding will eventually disappear. But life rarely works that way. The truth is, there are people who simply do not want to understand you. And there are others who will only understand you in whatever way supports the story they have already chosen to believe. The Stoic philosophers recognized this truth more than 2,000 years ago. They understood that peace does not begin when everyone agrees with you. It begins the moment you stop making other people's approval a condition for living according to your own values. In this video, we will explore 10 Stoic lessons that will help you let go of the constant need to explain yourself. Because the moment you stop trying to control what other people think is the moment your life truly begins to change. The Stoics understood a truth that most people spend years trying to discover. You cannot live a peaceful life if you are constantly trying to control how other people see you. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that your power lies only over your own mind and your own actions. Everything outside of that is never completely yours to control. Your reputation, other people's approval, the way they choose to interpret who you are. None of these truly belong to you. That is why the Stoics did not spend their lives arguing to prove they were right. They spent their lives building their character, because they understood one simple truth. A mature person does not prove their worth with words. They prove it through the way they live. In the next 10 lessons, you will not learn how to make everyone like you. You will not learn how to win every argument. Instead, you will learn how to reclaim something far more valuable: your peace of mind. Each lesson is one small step toward letting go of the need to be understood, accepted, and validated. And by the end of this video, you may realize that freedom does not come when everyone finally understands you. Freedom begins the moment you no longer need them to. Rule 1. You don't need everyone to understand you. There is one habit that quietly makes life heavier than it needs to be. It is the belief that whenever someone misunderstands you, you must correct them immediately. A longer explanation, a phone call, a carefully written message. You simply cannot stand the feeling of being misunderstood. But think back to the last time it happened. You probably spent a great deal of time explaining yourself. And in the end, the other person still held on to the same opinion. Not because your explanation wasn't clear enough, but because they never truly wanted to change the way they saw you. This is the first lesson Stoicism teaches us. You cannot control other people's thoughts. Marcus Aurelius did not spend his life trying to make all of Rome admire him. He focused on living according to his own principles. That was what remained within his control. Now think about a familiar situation. You decide not to attend a weekend gathering because you want to spend time with your family or simply get some rest. The next day, someone says you're arrogant, distant, or that you think you're better than everyone else. Your first instinct is to explain yourself. You want to prove they misunderstood you. But even if you explain everything perfectly, does that guarantee they will change their mind? No, because their thoughts do not belong to you. What belongs to you is how you choose to respond. The next time someone misunderstands you, practice these 3 simple steps. First, ask yourself, does this really need an explanation? Second, if the answer is no, allow silence to do its work. Finally, keep living according to your values. Over time, your actions will speak far more clearly than any explanation ever could. You do not need everyone to understand you. You only need to make sure you never betray what you know is right. Rule 2. Stop defending every decision you make. There is a very subtle trap that many people fall into. It is the feeling that every decision you make must come with a good enough explanation. You change your job. You feel the need to explain why. You turn down an invitation. You immediately feel the need to apologize. You choose to spend time alone. And somehow, you feel as though you owe everyone an explanation. Little by little, you stop living according to your own choices. Instead, you begin living according to other people's expectations. Epictetus taught that no one can truly control you unless you hand that power over to them. Every time you feel the need to prove that your decision is the right one, you unknowingly place someone else in the role of your judge. They are no longer simply listening. Now they are evaluating you. And without realizing it, you begin waiting for their approval. Think about a situation that many of us have experienced. You decide to turn off your phone in the evening so you can rest. A friend sends you a message. "Where have you been lately?" Instead of giving a simple answer, you write a long explanation about how busy you've been, how exhausted you are, and how you just need some time for yourself. After sending it, however, you still don't feel at peace, because what you truly wanted was not for them to understand. What you really wanted was for them to agree that your decision was reasonable. That is the trap. Not every decision deserves a defense. If your choice does not harm anyone else and it aligns with your values, it does not require approval from the outside world. The next time you make an important decision, practice these 3 simple steps. First, state your decision clearly and briefly. Second, resist the urge to add unnecessary justifications when no one truly needs them. Finally, accept that there will always be people who disagree with you, and that is perfectly normal. Every decision you stop defending is one step closer to taking ownership of your own life. And it is also the moment when other people begin to respect your boundaries. Rule 3. Silence is often more powerful than explanations. Most people underestimate the power of silence. They believe that if they do not speak up, others will assume they are wrong. If they do not defend themselves, others will think they have lost. If they do not explain themselves immediately, their reputation will be damaged, so they respond to every criticism. They reply to every comment. They try to correct every misunderstanding. They turn every disagreement into a battle that must be won. And what is the result? They win very little, but they lose a great deal. They lose time. They lose energy. They lose their peace of mind. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike the one who performed the injury." Many arguments do not make you wiser. They simply pull you down to the same emotional level as the other person. Think about a familiar situation. You share an opinion on social media. Within minutes, someone comments that you are fake or hypocritical. Your fingers immediately move toward the keyboard. You want to reply. You want to prove they misunderstood you. You want everyone else to see that you are the one who is right. But pause for a moment. If that person genuinely wanted a conversation, they would have asked a question instead of making a conclusion. And if they only wanted an argument, no explanation will ever be long enough to satisfy them. That is why the Stoics never saw silence as surrender. They saw it as a choice not to let someone else decide where your energy should go. The next time you feel the urge to react immediately, practice these 3 steps. First, do not respond while your emotions are in control. Give yourself a few minutes, a few hours, or even a full day. Second, ask yourself, will my response truly change anything? If the answer is no, protect your peace instead. Finally, let your actions and time speak on your behalf. Some arguments are won the moment you choose not to enter them. If you've realized that you've spent too much of your life trying to prove yourself to others, leave the word silence in the comments. Let it be a reminder that, starting today, you choose peace over endless arguments. Rule 4. Let your actions speak for you. There is a simple truth that many people overlook. The more desperately you try to convince people who you are, the less convincing your words become. Trust is rarely built through explanations. It is built through consistency. You can tell people that you are hardworking, but it is the days you keep working when no one is watching that prove it. You can tell people that you are honest, but it is the choices you make when no one is checking that define your integrity. That is why Seneca encouraged us to spend less time talking about virtue and more time practicing it. Now think about a situation that feels familiar. You decide to improve your health. You begin exercising. You commit to a healthier lifestyle. A few people laugh at you. They say you'll quit within a week. Your first instinct is to explain that this time is different, that this time you are serious. But instead of arguing, you quietly keep showing up. 1 month passes, then 3 months, then 6 months. By that point, you no longer need an explanation. Your results have already spoken for you. That is how the Stoics built their character. Not through promises, not through arguments, but through thousands of small actions repeated day after day. The next time you feel the urge to prove yourself, practice these 3 steps. First, say 1 sentence less than you normally would. Second, replace that explanation with 1 meaningful action. Finally, repeat that action consistently until it becomes the clearest answer anyone could ever receive. Words may change someone's opinion for a few minutes, but consistent actions can change the way people see you for years. And when that happens, you will discover that life becomes much lighter when you no longer feel the need to constantly prove who you are. Rule 5. Accept that some people will choose to misunderstand you. This may be one of the hardest lessons to accept. Not every misunderstanding can be resolved, and not everyone is looking for the truth. Some people only see what they want to see. They do not listen to understand. They listen to confirm what they already believe. That is why you can explain yourself 10 different times, and they will still reach the same conclusion. It does not mean your explanation was unclear. It means they were never searching for a different answer in the first place. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that people act according to their own understanding. And when that understanding is flawed, their actions will be flawed as well. He did not spend his life trying to correct everyone's perception. He focused on correcting himself. Now think about a very common situation. You decide to spend more time with your family. You stop attending gatherings that no longer add value to your life. Soon, people begin saying that you've changed, that you've become distant, that you no longer care about your friends. You could sit down and explain every reason behind your decision, or you could accept one simple truth. The people who genuinely care about you will pay attention to the way you live. The people who only want to judge you will always find another reason to do so. That is the difference. The Stoics never wasted their lives chasing a perfect image in the minds of others. They devoted themselves to building an unshakable character within. The next time someone misunderstands you, practice these 3 steps. First, ask yourself whether this person truly wants to listen, or whether they have already made up their mind. Second, if they already have their answer, do not step into the role of defending yourself. Finally, continue living according to your values and allow time to do the rest. You will never control every story people choose to tell about you, but you will always have the power to decide the story you choose to live. Rule 6. Stop asking for permission to be yourself. Many people don't realize that they are living as though they need permission. They want to change careers, but first, they need everyone else to agree. They want to say no, but they are afraid of disappointing people. They want to live according to their own values. Yet they still wait for someone to reassure them that their choice is the right one. Little by little, they hand over the authority to direct their lives, not through force, but through their dependence on other people's approval. Epictetus taught that freedom does not come from making everything happen the way you want. It comes from refusing to base your happiness on things you cannot control. And other people's approval is one of those things. Think about a situation that many of us know well. You want to spend your evening reading, exercising, or simply resting. Then someone invites you to an event you have no desire to attend. You know you want to decline, but you still say yes. Not because you want to go, but because you are afraid they will think you are unfriendly or distant. That is no longer kindness. It is sacrificing yourself in exchange for someone else's approval. The Stoics understood that a life built on principles will always disappoint certain people. And that is perfectly normal. You cannot remain true to yourself while trying to please everyone. The next time you face a choice, practice these 3 steps. First, ask yourself what you truly want before thinking about what everyone else expects. Second, give a clear and simple answer without adding unnecessary apologies. Finally, accept the discomfort you may feel for a few minutes instead of living with regret for days. Every time you stop asking for permission to live your own life, your confidence grows a little stronger. And eventually, you will realize that the greatest form of freedom is not having everyone agree with you. It is no longer needing them to. Rule 7. Protect your energy, not your image. There is a battle that countless people fight every single day. They fight to protect the image they believe others have of them. They worry about what people think. They worry about being misunderstood. They worry that one careless comment or one false impression will somehow diminish their worth. So they spend hours explaining themselves, defending themselves, trying to prove their intentions, trying to correct every opinion they hear. But in the end, what they lose is not their reputation. What they lose is their energy. Seneca reminded us that life is too short to waste on things that have no real value. Yet so many people spend the best hours of their day replaying someone else's opinion in their mind. A comment on social media, a critical remark, a judgment from someone who has never truly known them. Now think about a familiar situation. You spend weeks completing an important project. 10 people praise your work. Only 1 person criticizes it. What happens? You forget the 10 compliments, and you spend the rest of the evening thinking about that one negative comment. You want to explain yourself. You want to prove them wrong. You want to change their opinion. But while you're doing that, your energy quietly slips away. Not because their opinion is so powerful, but because you've given it that power. The Stoics often ask themselves one simple question: is this worth my peace of mind? It is a question worth carrying with you every day. The next time someone judges you or misunderstands you, practice these 3 steps. First, pause before reacting. Second, ask yourself whether changing this person's opinion would truly make your life any better. If the answer is no, keep that energy for your family, your work, your health, and the goals that truly matter. Finally, remember that energy is one of the few resources you can never get back. You can earn more money, you can rebuild your reputation, but you can never reclaim a day that has already passed. Do not spend the best hours of your life protecting an image that exists only in someone else's mind. Spend them building the person you truly want to become. That is the choice the Stoics always made. Not winning every argument, but preserving enough energy to live a meaningful life. Rule 8. Set boundaries without feeling guilty. One of the biggest reasons we keep explaining ourselves is that we are afraid of disappointing other people. We are afraid of being called selfish, afraid of being seen as cold, afraid that someone will think we have changed. So every time we say no, we feel the need to say much more. I'm sorry, but it's just that I didn't mean to. The more explanations we add, the more we begin to feel that our decision needs to be justified. The truth is, a healthy boundary does not need to be wrapped in guilt. Marcus Aurelius understood this well. He protected his time and energy for what mattered most instead of trying to satisfy everyone around him. He knew that if he said yes to every request, he would no longer have enough strength to fulfill his true responsibilities. Modern life is no different. Imagine you've just finished an exhausting week at work. All you want is a quiet weekend to rest. Then someone keeps insisting that you join a gathering. You politely decline. They respond, "Come on, you can't spare just a few hours?" Immediately, you begin to feel guilty. You want to explain how tired you are, how stressful your week has been, how you'll definitely come next time. But try looking at the situation differently. You are not saying no because you dislike them. You are saying no because you are respecting your own limits. Those are two completely different things. The Stoics understood that if you fail to protect your own boundaries, eventually you will not have enough strength left to care for anyone else. The next time you need to say no, practice these 3 steps. First, answer clearly and simply. Second, do not feel obligated to provide a long explanation. Finally, accept that the guilt you feel at first is only an emotional reaction, not proof that you have done something wrong. Every boundary you protect strengthens your self-respect, and sooner or later, you will discover that the people who truly respect you never needed a long explanation in the first place. They only needed your honesty and your consistency. Rule 9. Become comfortable being misunderstood. There is one truth that almost no one wants to accept. No matter how well you live, there will always be people who dislike you. No matter how sincere you are, there will always be people who question your motives. No matter how hard you try, there will always be someone telling a different story about who you are. If you spend your entire life trying to correct every one of those stories, you will never have enough time to live your own. That is why the Stoics saw being misunderstood as a natural part of life, not as a personal failure. Epictetus taught that if you truly want to grow, you must be willing to accept that some people will think you are foolish or strange. You cannot become a stronger person while expecting everyone to agree with you. Those two things rarely exist together. Think about a situation that happens every day. You decide to change your lifestyle. You wake up earlier. You spend less time at parties. You spend less time on social media. You become more focused on your health and your work. Within a few weeks, people begin saying that you've changed. Some say you've become distant. Others think you're trying to act superior. You know they have misunderstood you. But instead of turning back to explain yourself, you simply continue walking the path you've chosen. A few months later, your life becomes more stable. Your health improves. Your mind becomes calmer. And then you realize something important. Their opinion never determined the outcome of your life. Your choices did. The next time someone misunderstands you or judges you unfairly, practice these 3 steps. First, accept that you cannot control the story they tell themselves about you. Second, stop making it your life's mission to change their opinion. Finally, return your attention to the habits and actions that help you become a better person every day. Maturity is not the moment when people stop judging you. Maturity is the moment when their judgment no longer has the power to pull you away from the path you have chosen. If this lesson speaks to you, leave the word free in the comments. Let it be your reminder that real freedom begins the moment you stop living through other people's opinions. Rule 10. Your life changes the moment you no longer need other people's validation. Take a moment to look back at the journey we've taken together. You learned that not everyone has to understand you. You stopped defending every decision you make. You discovered when silence is more powerful than words. You learned to let your actions speak. You stopped trying to correct every misunderstanding. You began setting healthy boundaries. You learned to protect your energy. These are not just changes in behavior. They are changes in the way you see yourself. And that brings us to the final lesson. The moment that truly changes your life is not when people stop judging you. It is when you no longer need their judgment to feel worthy. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that the value of a person's life is measured by the things to which they give their attention. If your attention is consumed by what other people think of you, then your life will always remain in their hands. But if your attention is directed toward your character, your actions, and the things you can actually control, you gradually take ownership of your life again. Imagine 2 people. The first constantly checks whether other people understand them. They keep explaining. They keep apologizing. They keep searching for approval. The second person is also misunderstood. They are judged. They are criticized. But after listening carefully, they correct what truly needs to be corrected. And then they keep moving forward. Both people live in the same world, but only one of them is truly free. The Stoics never pursued a life without criticism. They pursued a mind that could no longer be controlled by criticism. That is real freedom. Starting today, practice these 3 steps. First, before explaining yourself, ask, am I speaking to clarify the truth Or am I simply looking for approval? Second, whenever you are misunderstood, return your focus to what you can control: your thoughts, your choices, and your actions. Finally, allow time and consistency to tell your story. You do not need everyone to agree with you. You do not need everyone to understand you. You only need to live in a way that allows you to look back at the end of each day knowing that you never betrayed your own values. That is the moment you stop explaining yourself. And it is also the moment your life truly begins to change. If there is one lesson I hope you carry with you after this video, let it be this: you were never meant to spend your life explaining yourself to the world. You were meant to live according to the values you know are right. There will always be people who understand you, and there will always be people who don't. That has never been the measure of a person's worth. The Stoics were not searching for a life without criticism. They were searching for a mind that could no longer be controlled by criticism. That is the kind of freedom no one can take away from you. Tomorrow, someone may still misunderstand you. Someone may judge you based on a single moment. You may still feel the urge to explain everything. When that moment comes, remember the question we began with. What would happen if, starting today, you stopped explaining yourself? Perhaps you won't change what other people think, but you will reclaim your time. You will reclaim your energy. You will reclaim your peace of mind. And more importantly, you will reclaim ownership of your own life. That is the lesson Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus tried to pass on through Stoic philosophy. Not how to make the whole world accept you, but how to stop needing the world to do so before you can live a good life. If this video gave you a new perspective, subscribe to the channel and join us for more Stoic lessons. Each week, we'll continue learning how to build a calmer mind, stronger character, and greater inner freedom in a world that is always trying to define who we should be. Thank you for spending this time with me. And remember, sometimes the most powerful answer is not another explanation. It is a life that speaks for itself.